What's up, PoE homies? J-War here with another video. So we are back for PoE Crucible League 3.21. We just got off of the live stream announcement and it looked really cool. Basically, the highlight of the patch is your weapons. You are going to be able to add passives onto your weapons that are independent from the mods on the weapons. So additional modifiers on your weapons through these passive skills. As you're seeing on the screen, you can be able to add crazy stuff to the weapons, including additional arrow, supported by lesser multiple projectiles there, as you see on the screen for this bow. Make a 7 link. It's going to be really powerful. So that being kind of the highlight, and the key component is, like I said, it's going to work for weapons, nothing else. Anyway, we're going to get into the patch notes and just go a rundown of the patch notes, and it's going to cover a lot of the changes we're going to see. And mostly, if you want a broader view, go check out the actual YouTube video of the live stream. It was really cool. And yeah, looks like mostly buffs. I kind of glanced over the patch notes. I'm going to break it down step by step here and try to tell you the most important stuff in kind of a TLDR format. So, alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, let's get into the new stuff. We got 9 new Val skill gems: Absolution, Animate Weapon, Arctic Armor, Domination, Firestorm, Val Ice Shot, Lightning Arrow, Reap, and a Rejuvenation Totem. That one's kind of interesting. Added Atlas Gateways to passive skill trees. This is something they highlighted in the video. This allows you to allocate points by taking these gateways in the form of like big keystone passives. And you'll be able to move from one point in the Atlas passive tree to the other without spending like a whole lot of Atlas travel points to get there. So that was really cool. Some new skill gems. I'm not going to go in the descriptions of all these. We're going to keep them pretty short. Snipe, I believe this is the same thing that comes in the Asylum helmet, added as a support gem or a skill gem in the game. Mana Forged Arrow, a new support gem. Prismatic Burst, an attack support gem. So those are all pretty interesting. And Momentum, and it's a strength dexterity support gem. Okay, so they also did a really big rework on Breach, and the pacing of Breach has been improved. They're going to go faster. You're going to have less time to kill all the Breach monsters. Breach splinters are now affected by increases in reduction to item quantity, so that's gonna be pretty cool. Apparently you're gonna get less of them now, and they're going to be higher item level, and they got rid of, I think, 2 or maybe 3 of the upgraded versions of the stones. So yeah, so a lot less breach stones now to deal with, but they're gonna be more powerful when you get them. So a big buff to breach stuff, basically. All right, so we got a lot of buffs here to breach unique. So a lot of these rework. Ulna Tools Kiss unique axe is now found as a Vol axe base type, which is a very good base type and provides 230 to 270% increased physical damage, which is a ton. And you also get a 100% chance to curse enemies with vulnerability on hit. So that is kind of an insane axe. And it also does 200% increased damage with exerted attacks. That's a really crazy axe, actually. That might actually outdo Etziri's Disfavor as far as an endgame axe, especially for slams if you're doing exerted attacks with them. Severed in Sleep, I kind of went past this one. This one was also pretty interesting. I'm not sure if this is going to end up being a buff or not. You're getting rid of the chance to poison for minions, which is a big nerf to poison SRS. I think that's what they like to use, is this Severed in Sleep unique sword. It now provides level 25 Envy skill. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty powerful buff. I don't really ever use it. I'd have to look into that. And you also get Withered. So I'm not sure. And 5% crit multi per Withered debuff, which is pretty cool for your minions. I'm not sure if those buffs-ish things, I don't really play a whole lot of minions, are going to make up for the loss of the chance to poison. I kind of doubt it because the poison variation was so strong, but we'll see what happens with those. Zoph's Heart unique amulet no longer covers enemy ash when they hit you. It just has nearby enemies are covered in ash. That's kind of nice quality of life. The Tollborn unique wand is going to give you, let's see, the Toll Fall was the more impressive one. It gives you 50 to 70 cold damage to spells per power charge. So if you have like 10 power charges, it'd be 500 to 700 cold damage to spells. That's kind of a lot of flat damage there on that. I don't know if it's gonna be good enough to use. That was just an interesting change, and I think there's 1 or 2 other ones. Oh yeah, they did something interesting here with the Hand of Thought and Motion, which is the unupgraded form of Hand of Wisdom and Action. It's now granting flat lightning damage at double the amount, but per 10 dexterity. It wasn't int stacking claw before, where it would grant 1 to 5 lightning damage per 10 intelligence. So Kind of an interesting change there. It's now dex stacking rather than int stacking, and you also get crit chance per 25 intelligence. So it's almost like they want you to stack both, which probably isn't really going to be very good. Alright, so let's check out the Abyss changes. There were also a lot of Abyss changes with this patch, and basically Abysses are now going to spawn in a Lich every time in Abyssal Death, so you're not going to be skipping some of them. Every time you get a Lich, you're probably going to want to do it, depending on how good they are. And then some changes to a lot of the uniques, the Abyss uniques. Most of these aren't too interesting. I glanced over them. Darkness Enthroned now rolls 50 to 100% increased effective sock that Abyss Tool was previously 75. So if you get a roll on it, it's going to be 25 up to 25% better. So that's a pretty cool buff. That belt is actually used in a few builds, one of which is Accuracy Stacker. Tomb Fist unique gloves no longer provide blah blah blah. I'm just going to tell you they now roll 2 random modifiers, which is interesting, rather than the 2 they rolled before. One was Intimidate on hit, and I forget what the other one was, but there's a pool of 6 modifiers they can roll now, which is going to be interesting. We don't know what they are. They could be pretty good. These used to be the kind of go-to attack gloves you would use for attack builds, so Tomb Fist could be good. Looking over everything else, nothing else looks too interesting. Bubonic Trail, if you want to read it, looks kind of interesting, but we'll see. Atlas changes for the actual maps that are going to be on the Atlas. They added a bunch of maps back to the Atlas. You can read over these as they want. The one everybody probably wants to know about, did they remove Crimson Temple? No, they did not. So there you go. Apothecary farming on Crimson Temple. Still back in the mix. There's probably some interesting divination card changes here too, but I'll let you guys read over that if you want. Alright, so end game changes. Not a whole lot here. There's a new Profane modifier that's going to cause chaos damage. Fizz is extra chaos and inflict withered on you, which is kind of a powerful mod. Might be a little bit dangerous for some builds. And then Eldritch Altar modifier doesn't have reduced cooldown recovery rate anymore, now replaced with reduced critical strike multiplier per power charge when you pick that mod, probably just to not brick cast on crit builds. Alright guys, let's go over a lot of these new mastery points, and I just glanced over these. I'm going to go over just the interesting ones, and there is some really insane power creep in these. So to start off, the accuracy, you get, let's see, 50% increased accuracy rating at close range. That's a massive amount of accuracy to be gaining. And then you also can get some for your minions. That's pretty cool. And accuracy rating equal to your intelligence. So that could be interesting for instackers. Armor masteries, some interesting stuff there, but nothing too crazy. +1 to max alt res is the most interesting one there. Energy shield, nothing too crazy in the energy shield ones. There's a few I want to highlight. Attack masteries, there's some cool stuff. The adrenaline, when you change stance, could be interesting for like a blood and sand build, something like that. Flesh and stone. Nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. This got moved. The intimidation on, what was it, your ruthless hits got moved from attack masteries onto 2-hand masteries. So now you intimidate enemies while you have rage, which most attack builds find a way to get rage if they aren't Berserker. So that's pretty cool. Perma intimidate there on attack masteries. What else? The caster ones looked pretty good, but nothing too crazy. I might be glossing over some important ones here. The claw stuff is pretty crazy. I just wanted to mention this. You get 25 life on hit with claws, which claw implicits already have crazy life on hit, so I don't know why they're getting even more with a claw master. You probably don't need that. And then there's some other interesting stuff. 10% of life leech is instant per equipped claw, which you get more instant leech at a 10% rate somewhere else in the tree. The cold masteries are absolutely nuts. Chance to inflict cold exposure on hit with cold damage. Pretty crazy. Cold exposure is really good. Enemies near targets you shatter have a 20% to be covered in 20% chance to be covered in frost, which is 20% increased damage taken, which if that is your only increased damage taken modifier, that's 20% more damage you're doing, which is nuts. Chills from your hits always reduce action speed. That one's not too interesting. And this last one is crazy. Heat Shiver was already really powerful, and enemies permanently take 5% increased damage for each second they've been frozen by you, up to a maximum of 50%. Now, freezing bosses is pretty hard to do, especially for long durations, but if you can do it, I mean, I imagine stuff's going to be dying so fast anyway that this probably won't get a whole lot of use, but that's a ton of increased damage taken for freezing enemies, which is pretty crazy. Dagger masteries, nothing too interesting there. Elemental masteries, I believe there was something pretty cool here. Oh yeah, there's just this last one. 3% chance for hits to deal 300% of physical damage as extra damage of a random element. So 3% is a really low chance, but that's kind of just a fun one there. You'll randomly just hit for like massive damage, so kind of cool there. What else do we have? Evasion masteries. I didn't see anything too interesting. It did look like they moved the 15% chance to suppress spell damage if your helmet, body armor, and gloves have evasion onto the evasion masteries and away from the spell suppression masteries, which could make it difficult to get suppress capped for some builds, but there's also quite a lot of other options for you in regards to that. Oh yeah, burning enemies here under fire mastery have a chance to explode now. So okay, RF, you now get like explode. It's at a really small percentage though, 3% chance to explode and only a 1/10 of their maximum health, which I think is kind of the baseline now unless you're an occultist for explodey. So pretty cool there for fire builds, burning builds, which is really just RF, and ignite builds. So pretty cool for them there. Fortify masteries, they changed some stuff up, but I didn't see anything too interesting. Impale, you get an extra impale hit at a 10% chance for the mastery, which isn't too great. And the leech mastery, this one was really cool. 10% of leech is instant. Now we're not sure what type of instant leech there was. I saw actually in the live stream, Karn of all people was asking about what kind of instant leech is it, and I don't know, I don't have that much knowledge on how leech works to get into the specifics there, but 10% now instant, so you hit for really large numbers in PoE. So 10% of your leech being instant, if you're doing enough damage, that's going to be like pretty much life gain on hit basically, and probably a large amount if you have a lot of damage. So lighting masteries, nothing too interesting there. There was a little bit defensive buff with the new thing they added. Life masteries, 10% more maximum life, so that's a multiplicative life scaler if you have 6 life masteries. Now 6 life masteries seems like quite a lot to get. That might not be that good, but the interesting one they were talking about in the live stream was 15% increased maximum life if there's no life modifiers on equipped body armor. So early game, that's probably going to be pretty good. If you don't have life rolled in your chest, you're going to have 15% increased life. That's pretty cool. Link skills, I'm not even going to go over that. And then the other one, mana masteries, they added it back, guys. Increased 12% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. Now I'm not sure what wheel that's going to be on. We're going to have to look into that a little bit more, but we finally got a mana reservation mastery back. That's huge for so many builds. And the mark masteries down here too. I'm skipping over the mine masteries. I'm not really a mines player, and I don't think the new one is too interesting anyway. There's area of effect for each mine. Could be pretty big for some builds. Anyway, mark masteries, these were insane. Marked enemies cannot deal critical strikes. You're crit immune with mark mastery now against, I mean, what else is going to matter? So you're going to have your markup on rare monsters and bosses, basically with mark on hit. It applies to rare monsters and bosses, not so much blue monsters and white monsters. Well, not at all really, but you don't really care about them because they're not going to be doing that much damage anyway. So the monsters you care about critting you are not going to be able to crit you. So that's insane. And then another buff to accuracy rating here. 50% increased accuracy rating against marked enemy, which again is probably the only enemy you're going to care about having more increased accuracy rating against, because everything else is just going to die. So that's two like accuracy stackers looking actually really good with these changes. So that's 100% increased accuracy rating, which is a ton of increased accuracy rating. So like I mentioned earlier, I believe I have a a pretty cool revamped accuracy stacking build I'm going to unleash on the public on YouTube here in 3.21, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, moving on, protection masteries, didn't see anything too interesting there. Reservation masteries. Now it's interesting, maybe this is, yeah, see, okay, so this is what happened. You don't get that mana reservation efficiency on the reservation mastery, so you're going to have to take a mana wheel to get that. It's not where you would normally get reservation efficiency, so it may not be worth it to get the 12% on a mana reservation mastery, even though it's back on the tree, which is really cool. But anyway, keep moving on here. I think that was about all I saw that was cool. Yeah, that was about it. So those were the highlights there from the mastery changes. Alright, looking over this, they also removed a lot of masteries, and some of them they just moved around, and probably the only or the most notable ones are increased effect of your marks on mark masteries. That was pretty strong, especially for the projectile sniper's mark. And then, like I said, the 12% chance to suppress spell damage if your boots, helmet, and gloves have evasion got moved over to be on an evasion wheel and not on a spell suppression wheel. But it actually got buffed by 3%. I think it was 15% in that other place. So, interesting change there. Probably not too impactful. The rest of them aren't too big. The other big one I noticed for determination builds, if you were taking the 25% increased mana reservation efficiency from determination, it's no longer on armor masteries. I'm not sure they replaced it anywhere else. And also precision got moved off the accuracy mastery, and I don't know if they replaced anywhere else. So those are kind of the biggest ones. Everything else didn't look too crazy. Some of these just got moved around onto other things. So it says they were removed, but really they just got moved around. Alright, and they changed around a lot of the clusters in actual clusters on the passive tree. I'm not talking about Legion Gem cluster jewels here. We're just talking about cluster passives on the tree. Some of them were changed around. I'm not going to go to all these. I read over them. Nothing is really standing out as like, whoa, that's crazy to me in those, but I might have missed something. I kind of want to get on to the ascendancy changes here, which are pretty interesting with Saboteur, which I'm kind of just going to gloss over this. One of the more interesting things they did here, because I'm not really a trap player. I played Seismic Trap like through the maps a couple times to try it out, but I didn't really like it that much. Anyway, so you can now get some, where is it, cooldown recovery rate in general. Yeah, 30% increased cooldown recovery rate on your ascendancy point, which kind of makes Saboteur kind of like a cast on crit viable build now, because you might be able to reach a new break point for cast on crit there. Those you cock players know what I'm talking about. It could be interesting there. You also got the skitter bots triggering skills ascendancy point, which is pretty cool. Like I said, I'm just going to gloss over the Saboteurs. I'm not really a Saboteur player, and to be honest, I don't really care much about it. But I think Seismic Trap is fine in that regard. But anyway, Pathfinder, a little bit more interesting to me here. So Nature's Reprisal, 40% of Fizz damage converted to Chaos damage, 15% more Chaos damage with attack skills. That is gone. And area of effect, this actually hurts Poisonous Concoction maybe the most, but now you're getting Wither on hit and 50% increased effective Withered. Now, 50% increased effective Withered is probably more of a damage buff than 15% more Chaos damage. I'm going to just do the math here real quick. It would be 6% more damage times 15, and it's half of that. Withered effect causes 6% increased damage taken, so it stacks up to 15 times. If you have 50% increased effect, that's going to be 9% increased damage taken times 15. Well, it's really 3 times 15, so that's a 45% more chaos damage taken on Wither. So yeah, that's looking pretty good actually. That's actually got to be better than 50% more chaos damage. Losing the area of effect on something like Poisonous Concoction though is a little bit painful. We'll have to see how that plays out. I imagine the damage might end up feeling about the same, and also you don't have to inflict Withered in different ways now when playing Pathfinder, so that one's pretty cool. This one kind of hurts for speed on Pathfinder. You don't get the movement speed or attack speed, and that's a pretty big nerf actually, because that attack speed really helps with Poisonous Concoction. And then Master Surgeon's been changed a little bit. I'm not going to go too into that one. It might hurt your survivability a little bit there, but maybe not too big. Most of these I think were supposed to be buffs, and Magic Utility Flasks now have 30% increased effect on Nature's Boon, which is pretty huge. 30% increased effect is quite big, especially with some of the other changes they did down here, which I'll show in a second. Master Alchemist no longer causes Magic Utility Flasks to have increased effect. It now provides 50% chance to not consume flash charges. So they kind of move some stuff around here, but it looks like the power level is going to be about the same. And they also kind of nuked Veteran Bowyer. So, or Boyer, I'm not sure how you say that word actually. I'm not from the 1600s. Anyway, Diamond Flask, you get 150% increased crit chance versus 100. And Bismuth Flask, you get penetrates 20% elemental resistance, which is a lot of damage. Amethyst Flask, you get a Fizz to Chaos conversion, or Fizz as extra Chaos actually, which is pretty nice for Chaos skills. So Pathfinder's kind of weird there. I think it might be stronger. Not sure though. It looks like it's going to be about the same with a lot of stuff moved around. And then Ascendant, I'm not going to go over Ascendant. I've never played an Ascendant in my life. Could be really good, not sure. Alright, so skill balance here on some skill gems. Nothing really too notable, just a bunch of random stuff that nobody really uses, except for Poisonous Concoction got a buff. So, chaos damage equal to 3% of class recovery amount from level 1 up to 11% at 20, previously 9%. So a little bit buff there on Poison Concoction. I think Explosive Concoction probably got a similar buff. So pretty cool there. They did change some stuff around in the early game here. I'm not going to go too into this because this is stuff that most players are going to be like, oh, this sucks, but once you're in maps, you're not going to care about it anymore. Onslaught support not being available early, though, is kind of lame. They said they replaced it with something else that was very similar, so I have to see what that is exactly. I haven't quite come across it yet, but I've been going through this really fast, so I might have missed it. So yeah, and then some interesting changes they made to like scepters and wands is instead of that percent increased damage for spell damage on the implicit and the base damage on some of these scepters, they upped the base physical damage, which is kind of nice on scepters. And then wands, mostly they added flat cold, fire, and lightning damage to spells and attacks, which is really nice actually for early leveling. Better than that increased flat spell damage, or that increased percent spell damage. Gonna be way nicer to have that. Alright, and then just some miscellaneous player balance stuff here. Kind of glossed over this. Nothing too really nerfs at all. Most of them are quality of life changes that are going to end up being buffs. You could read over this. There might be something that applies to a skill you play, but there wasn't a whole lot of it seemed to be kind of niche stuff, except for Molten Shell and Vol Molten Shell got nerfed by about 50% about the maximum amount of damage the buffs can take, which, I don't know, the max amount of damage they can take, I mean, typically they were saving you when you took a big hit, and they didn't really need to save you by as much as they did. So your max hits are definitely going to be lower, but it was probably typically overkill anyway, as the buff was just activating to save you and then getting turned off. You probably weren't getting killed through your life pool and through 10,000 health of the Molten Shell that was going to apply to you anyway, and then up to 30,000 with Vol Molten Shell, right? So yeah, it's probably fine still. I don't know, maybe Immortal Call will be good, maybe Steel Skin, I kind of doubt it, but yeah, Molten Shell might be not as good anymore, but still probably just fine. I don't know how massive that buff is going to be, but pretty big one. And that about does it. One other thing to note here, Get Wrecked Mirror Tier Bow and Quiver Crafters. Bow attacks fire an additional arrow, cannot get rolled with synthesis modifiers anymore, implicit modifiers. And this is probably just because you can now get it on the Crucible stuff. So it's still there, but you're just gonna have to get it a different way. It's probably actually a buff because you can roll a different implicit modifier that's going to be stronger than the additional arrow, and then get the additional arrow a different way, and you'll have both. So kind of looks like a nerf, but not really, because you can get it with Crucible now, along with a lot of other crazy stuff, which I'm pretty excited about. So, and that just about does it. Ruthless specific changes. We could go over the Kirek mods available. Abyss 2 Chaos, Essence 3 Chaos. Essence is back. Everybody rejoice. Everybody loves Essence. Metamorph. Heist is kind of, I don't know who's going to take that. 2 Smuggler's Caches. Expedition and Harvest. Okay, so those are kind of lame, actually. Metamorph, Heist, Expedition, Harvest. Harvest, everybody just uses the Sextant, I'm pretty sure. Expedition, you could just use the Scarabs. Heist, okay, I guess you could get more blueprints and stuff. And then Metamorph, everyone kind of hates Metamorph. And then Ambush. Ambush is cool, actually. I think I glossed over that one. So Ambush and Essence are probably going to be the 2 most desirable. And Abyss could be really good with the buffs to Abyss. And then we also have Fortune Favors the Brave, as usual. So kind of a letdown there on the Kirek mods available, but whatever. Everything else looks pretty cool, and that pretty much does it. I'm not going to go over the bug fixes or anything. There could be some hidden buffs here in the bug fixes, but yeah, that pretty much does it for the patch notes. So yeah, actually, no, I'll talk about why or where I've been in regards to PoE. Basically, I just stopped playing because Crucible League was pretty awful, let's be honest, and it really killed my motivation to play the game, and that was pretty much it. And I played some World of Warcraft for a little while. Pretty big PvP player in World of Warcraft. I was like one of the top 50 warriors in the game on the PvP ladder. In solo shuffle, it was basically impossible to play the 3v3 ladder because of the changes they did in the game, but hey, that's Blizzard. If you're gonna go play Diablo 3 after PoE, good luck with those devs over at Blizzard, because they are crazy people. Anyway, that's gonna do it. And thanks everybody for watching, and stick around for more PoE content. After reading these patch notes, I can definitely tell you guys I'm going to be making an accuracy stacker build, probably playing one for this league. I've already been playing around with a variation of it. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I'm going to leave it for the video on that that's going to be coming out, but it's pretty similar to the one I did in the past, and using a different skill gem for the delivery system on the lightning damage. And it's going to do a ton of damage, I can tell you that much right now. With these changes to those masteries, we're getting 100% more or increased accuracy, so look out for that. And I'll have some other cool stuff coming out. And my other big plan is I'm going to be crafting a mirror tier weapon, which with these new Crucible changes is going to be really crazy, and it's probably going to be for Boneshatter. So yeah, that's some stuff I'll be doing this league, and I'll probably put a video out on what I plan on doing and maybe what my league start's going to be. I'm thinking Poisonous Concoction. We'll see how it goes. Thanks everybody for watching, and see you later.